Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 15. I'm Enigmius, and today, it's not going to be a long episode. We're going to be updating you on what we've done since the last episode, which is significant, but kind of hard to show you anything significant, if that makes any sense. This is where we've been doing a lot of our mining, our manual mining. There's iron down there, there's nickel, there's cobalt. So we brought our yellow miner down, just to give you an example. I wanted to really emphasize sort of how the seams of minerals work. They're kind of like a layer down underneath the ground, and you can't really get much if you just go straight down from the surface. You can see we get a lot of stone. If you were to follow the path that the drill took, we get a lot of stone, and then we pass through a relatively thin layer of iron. We still got quite a bit of iron out of there, relatively speaking. But then it goes back to stone, and you get a lot more stone. It's not necessarily the best situation. So I talked about in the last episode, we wanted to build a new vehicle, part ship, part wheeled vehicle, something maybe we'd see how it would go. And it was very important that we get started with that because something happened to our miner. We'll look at that in a minute. So one of the things that I wanted to do, first of all, was build yet another platform so that we had something to work on that was larger than the one that we already had, but still had all the amenities, all of the conveniences of our other platforms of our base. So we're going to have a med bay there so that we can recharge our suit energy, hydrogen in our suit. If we take a little bit of damage from a fall or something, we don't have to go back to our base to correct that. We also want to make sure that we have access to the station inventories for the refineries, the assemblers, things like that, so that we can pull materials from our base without having to go all the way up there and grab them, and get power from our base. So that's why we're building this great big long, it's like a power conduit for all practical intents and purposes. They're just light armor blocks, but as long as they're connected to our base, we can get power from our base with all these solar panels and things. So we had our miner attached to the umbilical that you can kind of see there, just barely underneath the solar panels. And we had a bit of a power outage. We ran out of power in our base. The connector with no power released, and our miner fell just over 500 meters, bouncing the whole way. You can see the craters that it left behind. And that little cluster, there's two small conveyors and 3 small ejectors. That's it. That's all that's left of our mining ship. Everything else was completely destroyed. I was like, part of me is really not very happy that we lost our miner, and part of me is just very amused that that's all that was left of it. I searched around. I tried to find maybe there were other chunks that bounced a little bit farther down the mountain. I didn't find anything, so all we could really do is go back and salvage what was left of our mining ship. There were like 37 drills, 32 thrusters. There were 24 lift thrusters and 8 maneuvering thrusters. Cargo containers, batteries, just lots of materials we lost, really. Fortunately, they weren't of the super rare kind that we really feel the loss we'd have to make up. So we got to get something that will allow us to mine. And this is a small 5x5 wheel with a suspension attached to a landing gear. There's a landing gear, and then on top of the landing gear is 3 small gray blocks, and then to the left is the suspension, and then there's the tire. And these are the small size version. If we were to make a ship like the other ones that we've made up to this point, these are the components that we would be using. They're not necessarily expensive. Wheels right now are a little bit wonky. Some people are having some difficulties with things just like bouncing wheeled vehicles way up in the air and basically crashing them to the ground is the end result of that sort of thing. But in our case, we're not interested in doing any more small ships because we have access to a lot more materials now. We want to kind of ramp up the production here. We want to start getting more materials into our base so that we can get onto the business of leaving the planet and going and exploring other things. So we're going to start using the large ship variants of everything for this build. You could see the comparison of the wheel sizes, even just the landing gear sizes. Now, that large landing gear is for the large ship. We had 2 or 3 of those, maybe 4 on the atmospheric lander that we were in when we first landed on this planet at the very beginning of this world. That whole ship was the large size, but it's easy to forget just the scope and the magnitude of these things, just how incredibly enormous they are. You can see off in the distance on the right there, just below the giant tire, we've got a regular sized conveyor and our med bay. And again, the tire just dwarfs the whole damn thing. So the reason why it's not an especially long episode is because we had to build the platform. We had to build the stuff all the way down from the platform. We had to go looking for bits of our miner. And then we had to kind of sort of mess around a little bit with the wheels and get a feel for them. I think it's right side up, the way it is now. Looking just at the suspension and the way that piston is on the suspension, I'm very hopeful that that's sufficient. It's going to work the way it's supposed to be. This is me assembling one of the wheels on the actual working project now. I couldn't leave you guys without some sort of progress to show you what this new vehicle is going to look like, the very beginnings of it. And you can see we're basically just working on a frame, getting the wheels attached to it. And then once we get that all done, get the wheels on, get a feel for how everything fits together based on the sizes and the hitboxes and all that other stuff, then we can get a much better idea of exactly how we're going to proceed with the design of this vehicle. So what I have in mind, just again to lead us into the next episode, is there's going to be a wheeled vehicle with drills on it that's going to be doing the majority of the drilling. It's going to have cargo containers on it. It's going to have a reactor on it, so it's going to be getting its power from the uranium instead of solar power. I can't do any more ships with solar power on a planet. It's no bueno. So we're going to run it on uranium. And then we're going to have another module with thrusters that will attach to this wheeled version, sort of like a drop ship that we can pick it up and move it around, take advantage of the flight aspect of things. And probably on that we'll also have, for sure we'll have a reactor also using uranium. It will have access to and connected to the containers on the wheeled section, and we'll probably have some arc furnaces and refineries on there as well to cut down on the weight of stuff that we're carrying around. So instead of hauling ore onto the ship and then carrying that ore around with us, we're going to refine it so that it weighs less. We're going to take the finished refined product back to our base instead of having to worry about carrying around all this crazy weight. And that's going to be the general idea of how this is going to work. Now, the plan may change as we go depending on how things work out, but that's what I have in mind. And this thing is just bloody massive. Like, this thing is absolutely enormous. What I want to try and do for you guys as we're building this is get you as close to the vehicle as we're doing various different things with the building, so you can get a sense of the scale as we go, but also kind of see how things are coming together and get a feel for some of the systems that we've not used in the game yet, like merge blocks and other things that will hopefully allow us a more diverse vehicle, simply, I guess would be the best way to put it. I also, just because it's what we're showing you now, is I actually put spotlights on the platform this time instead of just the little interior lights, so we can light up the whole platform now at night instead of just where we put the little interior lights, because they don't get very far. So that's the beginnings of our vehicle after we lost our miner to a hilarious 500 meter fall. If you want to be notified of the next video, subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitter. Links for that in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.